Winter does not have to be always dark and cold and with expensive heating bills, and you also don't need to travel to the other side of the world for a warm getaway. The perfect spot might be just a few hours by plane. Not long ago, I was bundled up in 3 layers, shoveling snow from my car. But then, I decided it was better to sip coffee on a sunny balcony. The best part was that it was cheap. The amount I saved on heating bills paid for the airline tickets. You can do that too, and it's easier than you think. Today you discover 10 places that are just perfect for that. And by the end of the video, you might even realize that this will not only help you to avoid the cold, but also to pay lower taxes. Ready? So the first city I want you to think about is located in the southern hemisphere. If it sounds too far, don't worry, most of the places I will mention are in the northern hemisphere, very close to the US and Europe. So we start with Florianópolis in Brazil, often called Floripa. It is the capital of Santa Catarina in southern Brazil. It spreads across parts of the mainland and Santa Catarina Island, famous for more than 40 beaches that range from calm bays to surfy-ready shorelines. And by the way, this is the place where I spent part of my honeymoon, really awesome island. In January, expect an average of about 27 Celsius, 81 Fahrenheit, which is warm without being too scorching, thanks to the ocean breezes. It's warm in good part because, well, it's summer there. These months from December to March light up the coastline with beachgoers, surfing competitions, and plenty of local festivals. The mix of city services and laid-back beach vibes draws a crowd that goes from college students to retirees. One clear advantage is the variety of beach styles. You have places like Praia da Joaquina, attracting surfers, or the calm waters at Canasvieiras that are very attractive for families, and it's also one of my favorite beaches there. But no matter the place you choose, you are never far from the ocean. Another plus, and this is very important since we are talking about Brazil, is the relative safety of Floripa. It's the second safest Brazilian state capital, and one of the two that have homicide rates below 10 per 100,000 inhabitants. The city is also quite clean. For many Brazilians, Floripa is one of the most comfortable and orderly capitals. Maybe only Brasilia, the national capital, has a similar standard. There you'll find some English speakers in tourism-related business, and also in the thriving tech industry that is growing in the city. Still, speaking Portuguese might be very helpful there, but here is an unexpected advantage of Floripa. If you don't speak good Portuguese, but instead you can speak some Spanish, you might be just okay, since a lot of people in Florianópolis speak Spanish. Now let's talk about what is probably the most important thing, the cost of living. Living expenses in Florianópolis are 65% cheaper than Miami, so there you can live an entire year with what you would spend in Miami during just 4 months. You can rent a modern apartment in the agronomical neighborhood, a safe area where the state governor lives, with 150 square meters and 3 bedrooms for only 4,000 reais. This is just $660. Bottom line, Florianópolis has modern conveniences, natural beauty, and unmanageable costs that appeal to anyone escaping harsh winters elsewhere. I made an entire video about Floripa, you can check it later. Remember that in peak summer, traffic in Florianópolis can increase on the main roads, and the island can look a bit crowded. Differently from our next place, which is not a city but an entire country, El Salvador. Until a few years ago, El Salvador was a very dangerous place. In fact, the most dangerous in the world. In the last few years, it went through a dramatic transformation that turned it into the safest country in the entire continent. You heard it right. El Salvador today has a homicide rate of only 1.9 in 2024. This is less than the homicide rate in the European continent. To put into perspective, the Canadian homicide rate is 2.3, so El Salvador is safer than Canada. So it's a safe place, but why would you move there to escape winter? Here is why. El Salvador is renowned for its warm tropical climate. But what is fascinating is how much the weather can change from one region to another, despite the country's small size. It's a beautiful ecosystem that can change in as little as 30 minutes depending on where you are located. The coastal areas, such as La Libertad, have a very pleasant and warm temperatures if you don't mind the humidity. These regions have average temperatures between 77 Fahrenheit to 86, 25 Celsius to 30, year-round. However, if you venture into the highlands, you will see a much cooler climate. Cities like San Salvador and Santa Ana in the central region have milder temperatures ranging from 60 to 80 Fahrenheit, 15 to 27 Celsius, a refreshing escape from the heat. Some people who already live in El Salvador might say that the low cost of living is not that low anymore. They are right. In fact, prices in El Salvador, especially housing prices, increased since the country improved so much. When it was the most dangerous place in the world, houses and apartments there were very cheap, and the reason is obvious. Nobody wanted to live there. Now that it's extremely safe and it's becoming prosperous, of course, prices have risen. However, they are still far below US prices. For example, the capital, San Salvador, is almost 40% cheaper than Detroit, and Detroit is 21 times more violent than El Salvador. Why would you pay more to live in a place 21 times more dangerous? It makes no sense to me. This is what a local told us about prices in El Salvador. I had a nice traditional breakfast with coffee for $3, 2 boneless, skinless, lovely chicken breasts for $5, bus fare is 25 cents. End quote. Another one said, open quote, well-established restaurant prices in El Salvador are 25 to 30% cheaper than those in the US. End quote. And these are prices for the capital, San Salvador, which is relatively expensive. A curious thing is that El Salvador is one of the few countries in the world where you can buy land or a house using Bitcoin. It's legal tender there. Alongside the warm weather and the low cost of living, another big advantage is the country's fast-growing tourism infrastructure. Road improvements and upgraded hotels are popping up in popular towns, making life easier for longer visitors. And lastly, but equally important, El Salvador is very close to the US, and there are many direct flights from major US cities like Atlanta, New York, or Houston to San Salvador. A direct flight from Houston to San Salvador, for example, takes less than 3 hours. So if you are looking for a warm winter with a low cost of living and distant just a few hours flight from the US, El Salvador deserves a closer look. The next name on our list is a place that is even closer to the US, the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. The Yucatan Peninsula includes areas like Quintana Roo, Yucatan State, and Campeche. The region is known for its mix of Caribbean beaches, cenotes, natural sinkholes, and Mayan ruins. During January, the thermometer typically reads around 24 Celsius, 75 Fahrenheit, giving you perfect weather for outdoor adventures. From December to March, the sky is often bright and the humidity lower compared to later months. So it's a great time to visit places such as Chichen Itza or the beaches near Tulum. In fact, many travelers refer to this as the good season, but you can still find pockets of calm if you venture away from the most popular spots. Living in Yucatan can be kinder to your wallet than you might think. One of the best and safest cities for expats in entire Mexico is Mérida, which is the capital of the Yucatan state, and the cost of living there is 58% lower than Miami. Mérida is not as touristy as Playa del Carmen or Cancun because it's not a beach city. It's 35 kilometers from the coast. Despite having more than 1 million people, some parts of the city have a small town vibe, and it's very safe. I mean, European levels of safety. The city is consistently ranked as one of the safest major cities in Mexico. The homicide rate in Mérida is only 1.5 per 100,000 residents per year, a number similar to countries like Finland. Around 10,000 foreigners live in Mérida. As the lively capital of the Yucatan state, it's a very historical city. The city center, Plaza de la Independencia, is bordered by the fortress-like Mérida Cathedral, and the white limestone Iglesia de la Tercera Orden are some of the main landmarks. If you want to go to the beach, you are just 3-hour drive from the incredibly beautiful beaches of Tulum. However, if you want to be even closer to beaches, the next name on our list might be even better. But before I review it, I would like to ask a small favor. If you enjoyed this episode, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. The region of Lima, Peru. The Peruvian capital generally brings average temperatures around 23 degrees Celsius, 73 Fahrenheit, with daily temperatures going often close to 30 degrees Celsius. Lima offers a captivating blend of historic charm, modern skyscrapers, and dramatic coastal cliffs. Between December and March, you can enjoy the beach during the day and enjoy Peru's renowned culinary delights during the evening. If you allow me a personal comment, ceviche is one of my favorite dishes ever. You should try it. For expats, affordability is a major advantage of Lima. The cost of living there is 56% cheaper than Chicago in the US. You can find modern apartments with ocean views at prices much lower than equivalent housing in the US. Part of Lima's charm is its coastal promenade, known as the Malecón, which spans neighborhoods like Miraflores and Barranco, with panoramic views. The proximity to many beaches that are somehow very underrated is a third reason people like to stay there longer. On the downside, Lima is a huge city with more than 10 million residents, so traffic congestion remains a real challenge, especially during weekdays. Air quality can also dip in the densest parts of the city, so those with respiratory sensitivities should keep that in mind. Even so, Lima's sunny climate, gastronomic highlights, and relatively low cost of living make it an appealing alternative to icy winters elsewhere. But let's say that living in such a huge city is not for you. If that is your case, pay attention to the next name I'll tell you. Chiriquí Province in Panama. This province in western Panama, bordering Costa Rica, includes mountain towns like Boquete, as well as coastal areas on both the Pacific and Caribbean sides. Due to the variety between mountains and beaches, it also has a diverse range of climates. In January, average temperatures in the highlands around Boquete are near 21 Celsius, 70 Fahrenheit, while in David, on the coast, daily temperatures easily go above 30 degrees Celsius. A great news about Chiriquí is that it usually has a lot of rainfall, but not during the winter. Between December and April, this province experiences a drier season, so the weather is really great for outdoor activities. Visitors and residents alike can explore coffee farms in the misty highlands, hike to scenic waterfalls, or take advantage of deep-sea fishing near coastal spots. Many fruits and vegetables are grown in the region, keeping produce prices low. Restaurants often serve hefty portions of local dishes such as sancocho, chicken soup, and fried plantain, so you might spend less on dining out than you would imagine. Part of the allure here is the active expat community, particularly in mountain towns where retirees from around the world gather to enjoy cooler temperatures and scenic views. Another appealing feature is the province's array of microclimates. Within an hour or two, you can move from cloud forest to sandy beaches. Now, about the cost of living. Chiriquí, as entire Panama, got more expensive lately due to the tourism influx, but it still is generally affordable. David, the largest city in the province, is 61% cheaper than Miami. A downside is that Chiriquí is quite far from the capital and largest city of Panama, Ciudad de Panamá. By car, it's a 7-hour trip, so it might look a bit isolated from the rest of the country, and by consequence, from the rest of the world. This is not valid for the next name in our list, a province in the Caribbean with a city famous all over the world, the Dominican Republic. La Altagracia is the easternmost province of the Dominican Republic. And maybe you never heard about it, but I bet you heard about its capital, Punta Cana. Yes, this province is the place of the famous powdery white beaches and turquoise waters that enchant millions of visitors every year. And they don't really have a winter there, at least not in the sense we understand winter in Europe or in the US or Canada. In January, you can expect average temperatures around 25 Celsius, 77 Fahrenheit, but it's not uncommon to have days above 30 degrees Celsius. Ideal for beach strolls, water sports, or sipping a cold drink under a palm tree. Between December and March, the weather is typically pleasant, with minimal rainfall. Another perk is how tourism infrastructure has led to improved roads and airports, making it simple to hop over to other Caribbean destinations. A third positive lies in the warm and outgoing nature of many Dominicans, who often treat newcomers with friendliness. Now, probably you think that such a famous tourist hotspot probably is insanely expensive, right? Not really, if you do the right thing, which I will tell you now. Because here's the secret. Punta Cana has all the beauty and all the resorts, but you don't need to live there. Instead, you can live in the Dominican capital during the winter, Santo Domingo. Here's what a local told us, open quote, "Santo Domingo is beautiful, lot of historic places, and I love the food. It's 4 hours driving from Punta Cana, and consider that it's really hot, so you will need a place with AC and not a fan." End quote. The good thing is that Santo Domingo, despite being the capital, is not an expensive city. You can rent a fully furnished 2-bedroom apartment with air conditioner and close to shopping malls and pharmacies for just $800. Another good aspect is that it's very easy to travel from the US to the Dominican Republic, and vice versa. They are separated by a 3.5-hour flight that might cost less than $250. Differently of the next place in this list, which is a bit farther from the US since it's in Europe, but this place has some great advantages like lower taxes. The Canary Island in Spain. This Spanish archipelago is very close to the northwest coast of Africa. Known for its sunny climate, it's one of those places where even in the middle of the winter, you can sunbathe at the beach. Winter Hills feels like a gentle spring. During January, the temperature stays around 17 Celsius, 63 Fahrenheit, and that is often warm enough for an afternoon at the beach or a light hike in nature. The year-round climate is stable, so there is no cold season to worry about. Another positive point is the variety between the islands themselves. Some are busier and more developed, while others feel more rustic. At the same time, a few downsides may affect daily life. Certain hotspots can get crowded when tourist season peaks, making it trickier to find peaceful corners. Also, English is not as widely spoken once you venture beyond the main tourist zones, so speaking Spanish goes a long way in handling daily errands. However, differently than other parts of Spain like Catalonia and the Basque Country, the Canary Island does not have a local language, so learning only Spanish should be enough. The two best cities for long-term stays are also the two biggest in the archipelago, Las Palmas de Gran Canaria and Santa Cruz de Tenerife. Las Palmas de Gran Canaria is bigger, with almost 380,000 residents, and the infrastructure there is more robust. As the largest city in the Canary Island, Las Palmas de Gran Canaria offers all the amenities you might need, from healthcare to co-working spaces. Las Palmas has a sizable expat community, particularly from the UK, Germany, and Scandinavia. Santa Cruz de Tenerife is a bit smaller with 200,000 residents, but it's located on an island famous for its various charms, like the Teide National Park. The cool thing is that Tenerife Island has a considerable difference between the southern portion of the island, full of resort beaches, and the northern part, which is typically Spanish, and has a more natural and traditional landscapes. So you'll not get bored. Both Gran Canaria and Tenerife have large airports that connect you to nearly anywhere in Europe and even to other continents. This is what a resident told us about Las Palmas. Open quote. Amazing place, very laid-back lifestyle, good internet, relatively cheap because of the island's lower taxes, lots to see and do, only a ferry ride away from the other island, and a cheap plane ticket to Europe. Can get a bit windy and cold sometimes in the winter, but not horrible. Lots of tourists in the south, more locals in the north. End quote. One curious aspect of this island is that they are an economic special zone with multiple tax benefits. For example, the value-added tax, or VAT, in the Canary Island is only 7% in comparison to the 21% VAT in the rest of Spain. The lower VAT taxes make industrialized items like electronics relatively cheaper. The next name in our list is also in Europe, but it's not an island, and it's very, very, very popular among British people. Can you guess? It's the Algarve in Portugal. This is a region that is basically Portugal's southern coastline. It's very popular for its sunny beaches, cliffside views, and huge amount of expats. Most of them come from colder countries like England or Germany, and the weather in Algarve is a good reason why they move there since it's pleasant year-round. Even at the peak of the winter, the daytime temperatures are around 15 degrees Celsius and around 10 degrees Celsius during the night. That might not be sunbathing weather, but it's still mild enough to let you stroll along the waterfront or dine outside at midday. The best positive aspect of Algarve, however, is the amount of sunshine. Even in January, when the rest of Europe is dark and gloomy, in Algarve you can have 180 hours of sunshine. This is 3 times the amount of sunshine London has in the same period. One of the best parts about visiting between December and March is the reduced tourist traffic, giving you a chance to see coastal cities like Albufeira or Lagos without the crowds. Now, talking about costs. If you ask any Portuguese about the cost of living in Algarve, they will say that it got way more expensive than in the past. And that is true. The increasing influx of visitors, digital nomads, and expats from richer countries made prices higher there. However, it is still a good option. Let's take the example of one of the best cities in the Algarve for foreigners, Lagos. I made a video about the best and most underrated cities to move to and retire to in Europe, and Lagos was right among the best. is a coastal town with about 31,000 residents that offers a lifestyle that combines natural beauty with modern convenience. The weather in Lagos is one of the most attractive for retirees. Summers are warm with average temperatures ranging from 25 Celsius to 30 Celsius. Portuguese people are lovely and very social, although during summer you might not see many Portuguese around. And Lagos still has a good price for what it offers. You can find well-located apartments for 750 euros or less. Another positive aspect of the Algarve is the easy access to other parts of Portugal via modern highways and low-budget flights. A third advantage is that English is relatively widespread in tourist areas, so you may face fewer language hurdles. Yet, there are some potential drawbacks. Some places become very quiet after the peak tourist season ends, leaving fewer entertainment options in the immediate vicinity. Another downside of Lagos is that the ocean water there is a bit colder, since the waters are from the Atlantic Ocean. This is not a problem in the next name on our list, a stunning island located right in the Mediterranean Sea. And by the way, if you are watching this video, you are probably planning to travel abroad for a longer time or even move somewhere else, and you want to save money and pay less taxes. I've written 3 top-rated Amazon books on living abroad, based on my experiences and insights from hundreds who have done the same. You can purchase them through the link in the comment section or in the description. So let's talk about the beautiful Mediterranean island called Sicily in Italy. This is the largest island in the Mediterranean and feels worlds apart from mainland Italy. Average January temperatures settle around 12 Celsius, 54 Fahrenheit, a relief for anyone escaping snowy regions. This quieter season lets you visit historical gems without large crowds, whether you are exploring the Greek theater in Taormina or the ancient ruins in the Valley of the Temples near Agrigento. Between December and March, Sicily's citrus groves thrive, filling markets with fresh oranges and lemons that local chefs use in everything from pastries to seafood dishes. Even in the larger, most expensive Sicilian cities like Catania, you will pay half or less of the cost of living in a large American city. You can rent an apartment with a sea view for far less than you might expect. And daily groceries, especially if you shop at outdoor markets, are quite budget-friendly. For many foreigners, sampling street foods like arancini, panelli, and cannoli becomes a highlight of their stay. By the way, I'm not sure I said any of those names correct, since Italian is not my first language. So if I pronounce it then wrongly, please correct me in the comment section. Other than the weather, another factor that draws people is the scenic variety. You can lounge on lidos at their many beaches, or wander through baroque towns like Ragusa. A third benefit comes from the warmth and friendliness of local communities. And during winter, probably they are in a better mood, since there is no issue with the water supply like in the summer. Still, there are a couple of issues to consider if you plan to an extended stay. Public transportation outside major hubs can be sparse, so having a car might be necessary for exploring remote areas. Heating in older homes is sometimes inadequate, and winters, while mild, can still feel chilly indoors if the building lacks modern insulation. The next name in our list is also a Mediterranean island, but a bit more compact, and with some surprising advantages. Crete, in Greece. Greece's largest island has a Mediterranean climate with mild winters, allowing for year-round outdoor activities and an active lifestyle, together with the splendid Greek cuisine, the best in the world in my opinion. This climate probably explains why Cretans live healthy and long lives. They are among the world's longevity champions. Between December and March, smaller towns are calmer, while bigger cities such as Heraklion or Chania still host many cultural events, and their infrastructure works normally. Regarding infrastructure, transportation there is straightforward, with a dependable bus network in larger Cretan cities like Chania and Heraklion, as well as ferry connections to other Greek islands and the mainland. The cost of living in Crete is relatively low compared to continental Europe. Housing, groceries, and dining out are affordable, and even in tourist cities like Chania, the cost of living is less than half of Miami. The climate remains pleasant year-round, with summer temperatures around 27 degrees Celsius, 81 Fahrenheit, and winters averaging 12 degrees Celsius, 54 Fahrenheit. Of course, a couple of drawbacks still exist. In smaller coastal towns, business shut down after late autumn, leaving fewer restaurant or shopping choices there. But no matter the place you choose, you are never far from the ocean. In spite of those minor setbacks, Crete remains a versatile option for folks wanting mild winter days and a budget-friendly lifestyle in a Mediterranean island. And one of the best cities in Crete is Rethymno, which I covered in detail in this video here at your left about the best small cities in Europe, where I compiled 15 absolute gems that you should hear about. Your future choice of winter escape might be one of them.